What if I told you there's a way to get rich that has almost nothing to do with luck? That's the core idea from Naval Ravikant, the investor and philosopher who basically wrote the modern playbook on building wealth. It's all about shifting your mindset and, frankly, playing a completely different game than the one most of us were taught. So, what is this game? And how do you win? Well, that's what we're going to break down today. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll look at why most people are playing the wrong game from the start. Then, we'll dive into Naval's actual formula for creating wealth. After that, we'll get into how to find your own unique superpower, what he calls specific knowledge. Then we'll cover how to amplify your efforts with something called leverage. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the one mindset you absolutely need to make it all work: playing the long game.
Okay, so let's start with the big problem. According to Naval, almost all of us are taught to think about making money in a way that just about guarantees we'll never build real, lasting wealth. It's a really subtle trap, but it's incredibly powerful.
This one quote is the key to the whole thing. See, we're all conditioned to chase money, which is just a tool, or to chase status, which is a social game. But Naval says, nope, those are the wrong targets. Money is just how we transfer wealth. And status? Well, status is a trap. The real goal, the thing you should actually be aiming for, is wealth.
And this is why it matters so much. Playing the wealth game is what we call a positive-sum game. We can all get wealthier by creating new things, new value. Everyone can win. But the status game, that is a nasty zero-sum game. For you to go up in the social rankings, someone else has to go down. It's a game about tearing other people down, and Naval warns that it's just a miserable way to live.
So what is wealth, really? In his words, it's assets that earn while you sleep. Think about that. It's a business that runs itself, software that's working for customers 24/7, or investments that are compounding in the background. And the goal isn't just to buy fancy stuff. The real point of wealth is freedom. It's the freedom to wake up and do whatever you want with your day.
And that leads us to the biggest trap of them all, the one that gets almost everybody. You are not going to get rich renting out your time. It doesn't matter how much you make an hour. Even if you're a highly paid doctor or lawyer, if you're trading time for money, you're on a treadmill. The moment you stop working, the money stops coming in. To build real wealth, you have to break that connection between your inputs and your outputs. Okay, so if renting out our time is the wrong move, what's the right one? This is where it gets good. Naval lays out a super clear three-part formula for how you actually build wealth. Let's dig in. This right here is your mission statement. It's not about finding a get-rich-quick scheme. It's about figuring out something that society really truly wants but doesn't know how to get yet, and then finding a way to deliver that thing to as many people as possible. It's all about creating massive value at scale. And here they are, the three pillars of the whole system: specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. Think of them as the ingredients in a recipe. Specific knowledge is what you do that's unique. Accountability is taking ownership and risk for it. And leverage is the magic that lets you magnify your efforts 1,000 times over. We're going to break down each one.
All right, let's start with the first and maybe the most personal piece of the puzzle: finding your specific knowledge. This has nothing to do with your college degree. This is about discovering your unique, almost unfair advantage in the world. I mean, think about it. The world is a pretty competitive place, right? So if you want to build something truly valuable, you've got to get out of the direct line of fire. You have to escape the constant competition. But how in the world do you do that? And the answer is so simple, it's actually profound. You do it through authenticity. When you lean into the things that only you are good at, the things that make you weird and unique, the competition just kind of disappears. Because literally no one else on the planet has your exact combination of skills, your passions, your history. Nobody can compete with you at being you.
And that is the very definition of specific knowledge. You can't learn it in a classroom. There's no certificate for it. You find it by just following your genuine curiosity, diving deep into the things you're obsessed with. It's that thing that feels like fun and games to you, but to everyone else, it looks like incredibly hard work. That's your zone of genius.
So, what does this look like in the real world? Well, it's usually something pretty creative or highly technical. It's often found on the cutting edge of things, where the rules are still being written. And here's a big one. You can't just automate it or hire someone in another country to do it for cheap. It's a skill you have to earn through doing, not just studying. So, once you find your specific knowledge, you have to embrace accountability. That's the second pillar. It means you have to be willing to put your name on your work and take the risks, because that's the only way you get the rewards.
Then you need a way to amplify it. And that's where this third pillar, leverage, comes in. This is the force multiplier.
You've probably heard this quote from Archimedes before, and it perfectly captures what we're talking about. With the right tool, the right lever, a single person can achieve something that seems absolutely impossible.
Now, Naval points out there are three main types of leverage. You've got labor, which is having people work for you. That's the oldest form. Then you have capital, which is using money to make more money. But the new kids on the block, the ones that have totally changed the game, are code and media. Just look at that table. They don't require anyone's permission, and their ability to scale is just off the charts.
And this distinction is everything. Labor and capital are permissioned. You need someone to give you permission to be the boss, or you need a bank to give you a loan. But code and media, they are permissionless. Right now, today, you can go start writing code, record a podcast, or start a YouTube channel without asking a single soul for permission. This is the engine that builds modern fortunes, and it's available to anyone. So let's say you found your specific knowledge, and you're using leverage to scale it. There's one final piece of this puzzle, and it's all about your mindset. You have to be willing to play the long game, because that's where all the real magic happens. This might just be one of the most important ideas to really get in your head. Everything great in life, whether it's building wealth, a deep relationship, or true expertise, comes from compound interest. You put in the work, you stick with it, and over time, the returns start to grow exponentially. Short-term plays just can't compete.
If that sounds a little abstract, just look at this number. Take a single dollar. If it grows at 20% a year, which is a great return, for 30 years, it turns into over $1,000. The first few years, you'd barely notice the growth, but in those last few years, it just explodes. That is the power of compounding, and it only works if you give it time. So how do you actually live this? It comes down to this simple mantra: be impatient with your actions, but be patient with your results. What that means is, when it's time to work, move fast, build things, ship them, iterate, have a sense of urgency. But when it comes to the outcome, you have to chill out and be patient. Understand that the big, meaningful results take years, sometimes even decades, to fully mature.
And we'll just leave you with this final thought from Naval. It's a bit of a curveball. He says that the whole journey, the act of creating, of learning, of finding your specific knowledge and applying leverage, it changes who you are. And by the time you actually get to that goal of being wealthy, you'll probably realize that the money wasn't the point. The real prize was the freedom and the person you had to become to get there.